All right, we are live, and the New York Mets are just sweeping series. No big deal. People who have not consuled, me and Phil, the consulists, we're just living the good life right now. We're rooting for a winning baseball team. As of the last three games, we're not going to worry about how those three games ended, if there was any, heart palpitations along the way. A win is a win is a win, just like a hit is a walk is a hit is a walk, whatever you want to call it. And the New York Mets are helping us chill out a little bit. So if you want to chill out, reach for a Coors Light. That's right. Coors Light is back for yet another year, sponsoring the podcast, getting us through the good, the bad, and the Metsy. Season gives us here in terms of high moments, low moments, but no matter what, the Blue Mountains will forever be chilling out our baseball souls. We had a Barstool at the ballpark, our first one on Saturday, and we were all just drinking some nice Coors Lights. That game did not go as well as these last few games did, admittedly. The Arizona Diamondbacks dog walked us like they did the next day, but that's just the life as a Mets fan. But luckily, Coors Light is always there. So New York, choose chill and reach for a Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/believe. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Positive podcast right now. We got to be feeling good. So we got me, we got, of course, your boy Kyle, Meekville, and we got a special guest, Christopher Clemmer. Kevin Clancy is out. Christopher Clemmer. We switched the K's and the C's, and we got the Clemmer man who was with us at that Barstool, the ballpark. Clemmer, how are we doing in general right now, pal?
Good. From a Mets standpoint, I'm conflicted. So the good news is they just swept the Nationals, right? They're only 3.5 back of the wild card. And I know that's it's game 62, but look, we're Mets fans. Let us take what we can get. Let us, we have to climb over 8 teams to get there. But there's it's not just one wild card spot. There's really 2 spots that are really up for grabs. The Braves are obviously going to get that spot, fine. But there's no National League team that is even playing decent. It's 500 would get you the second wild card spot. I'll say this. And this may piss off some Mets fans, and I'm conflicted myself. Look at that schedule, right? The rest of June is pretty tough, more or less. We have some tough Yankees. We got some tough games there. July, from July 1st to July 22nd, we don't really play a real team. And that's interesting, I think, for 2 reasons. Reason A is that the Mets could have an inflated record, maybe go on a little run. But B, is that going to scare off the front office from making any deadline moves and maybe give people false hope when we should bail? And I don't know. I don't console either because, why? It's a long summer. Why console? I'm going to watch this team regardless. But I don't know. I'm very much torn. I feel like I'm in purgatory.
That's a good way to put it. And actually, that's perfect. A perfect way to bring you in is you are kind of the older version of the Meek Phil, where you're a baseball junkie, have been forever, and you're obviously older than Phil, so you've seen this stuff a million times. You're basically all, and this is the thing though with the Mets. We've been here how many times, especially during the Wilpons, where it's either I want us to be good where we're buying, bad or we're selling. But it was always we'd be 3 games out of the wild card on July 30th. And it's all right, we can make kind of Band-Aid move, and we're not going to be selling the guys we should sell. We're not going to be trading for the guys that could actually make a difference this year and next year. And I do feel like there is a chance, Clemmer. You've now frightened me that this is where we're going to end up. I wasn't even thinking this until you just said that. But this is kind of the world we live in right now. Fuck. Phil, how are we feeling right now as you look at your future self?
Feel okay. I feel okay. I just actually got my computer connected to the Wi-Fi at this place, which is shocking how hard that is to do. I had to do a full reset on my computer to get that fixed. But the Mets, 3 wins. It would be a lot better of a feeling if they had won on Sunday. It didn't choke that away, but
are they actually making you believe? That's what we want to know, because in your heart of hearts, you look at it, and like Clemmer just said, it's are you going to have that false hope? And it's almost to the point of if we make the wild card as a sub 500 team, where are you going with your seat? Is it just so that you piss away the chance of getting prospects and reloading just so you can play a series that there's no chance they're going to win?
There's no chance you can win. If you had the NL champion the last 2 years is a 6 seed, everyone has a chance.
Not with our starting pitching.
Well, I'll push back on that a little bit. Let's say we get Senga back, and let's say Diaz can figure it out.
So the way you're describing it though means that we have to keep Severino. Like the way that you guys are describing it is like you think that we have a chance to go to the World Series, therefore we have to keep X, Y, and Z instead of probably doing the right thing and moving them.
No, I disagree with that. So what Phil and I are saying is, I don't want to speak for Phil, but what I'm saying at least is, we've seen the last 2 years, we saw Diamondbacks win 84 games, go to the World Series. We saw the Phillies win 86 games, go to the World Series. We're not saying the team is built to go to the World Series. We're just simply saying if you get to the dance, you have a chance to go home with the prettiest girl in the room.
It's baseball, so that's always the case, yes. But
more so than ever.
Yeah, because of the wild card, yes.
And the fact that these teams have long layoffs, we don't know what's going on. Like the Dodgers, we've seen the Dodgers choke, the Braves choke very early on. This playoff format is very weird, and maybe it's just a small sample size of 2 years of kind of is what it is. Or is that like an epidemic? Like, are good
it would
teams
be a problem.
doomed to fail?
It would be a problem for the regular season to say it doesn't actually matter anymore for you to do anything.
And
the 78 win Mets trying out Jose Butto in Game 1 versus the Brewers. I mean,
yeah.
And doesn't it just seem like completely ruining your regular season because you didn't think everything out would be like one of Manfred's like things in his baseball obituary? Because like they just took the baseballs, they own the baseballs now, and then they just change them, and everything just gets completely fucked up. People are like, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch regular baseball. So you're kind of like, these guys are just. It's like when you're pushing out code to get like nerdy with you. These guys are just like making changes to the website and being like, it might crash, it might fail, but it might be awesome too. And that's kind of what we do every single year with baseball. They change stuff. So I could definitely see that happening. And let's be honest, like the Phillies, right now the Phillies are having like one of those magical seasons, just like the goddamn Yankees are across town. But at the same point, like they're probably all thinking, we know more than anybody. This shit can just end. Just like they thought they were going to go and beat the Diamondbacks last year when they were going home to Philadelphia. And then that magical World Series are on. They're like, all right, we got the Astros. We got them where we want them. And then it was over just like that. So I guess you guys are fucking Clemmer's making me believe right now.
Let me say this too. Like, what's this podcast called? Like, it's an homage to the 1973 Mets, who only won 82 games. So, like, this isn't a Manfred problem necessarily. This is a problem anytime you have divisions and, things weird. It's baseball. Weird shit happens. I don't know. Look, I'll also say that 73 Mets team was significantly better than the team we had. They had.
And the same goes for the Phillies. Like that, you look at that lineup and like everything, all the pieces they had, it was just like, why aren't they winning? Like, what was happening? Even when we had 101 wins, we were beating them handily, and it was like, why are the Phillies bad? Like, it doesn't make sense on paper. And then they turned it on when they needed to turn it on.
This can also go south quick. Like, look at the Marlins last year, right? The Marlins got in the playoffs, backdoored in kind of, and then they got swept. And in 2 games, their season's over. And then that happens to us. That means we hung on to Severino, JD Martinez, Sean Manaea, Pete Alonso, all these guys we could have traded for a haul. And instead, we walk away with nothing but 2 playoff games where we get, say, routed. And like,
that's why I hate this new wild card.
What was that for?
Phil, what do you have to chime in? I can see you have something on the top.
I mean, I said a few months, like not a few months ago, like last month, the worst spot for this team to be is like 3 games back at a wild card in late July. We're in the middle of no man's land. Any move you make will be criticized in a little way. It'll be like, oh, they're going for it. They have a chance to win. Why are you putting all your chips in? Oh, they're selling when they're right there. Or, oh, they're standing pat. They're doing nothing. So you hope they swing it one way or the other in the next month or so to make that decision less like complicated.
And I'll say this too. The same people who are saying, oh, this is the chance to turn it around are the same ones who are hanging their hopes on Jose Iglesias and our second backup catcher who just suddenly had 2 home runs. And it's like immediately everybody's jumping off the Nito train too. And it's like, this guy came in and saved us from having Omar Narvaez as our fucking catcher. We picked him up off the scrap heap again. And now we have another backup catcher. And we're like, this is it. We finally found the backup for Francisco Alvarez. It's like, if you're talking about a backup catcher and a backup second baseman, I don't know where Viento's playing third.
The backup catcher is kind of the patron saint for the Mets, though. It's always been.
Yeah.
Like, we fall in love with these guys all the time. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. Who hit the home run against Papa way back when?
Omir Santos.
Omir Santos.
You're going further back, Clever.
Yeah.
I'm
a long storied history of backup catchers here at the New York Mets.
I'll say this. Jose Iglesias and Louis Torrens they're not good baseball players. It's like, I mean, this is obviously, we all know this is the weird flash in the pan. It's fun for a moment. Like you said, Kyle, you hang your hat on that, you're screwed. But they are getting Francisco Alvarez back relatively soon. It sounds like after maybe the Europe trip here, the England trip. I don't know. It's tough. And like, I look at this roster and I do believe there's so many guys we could trade and get a lot back. And we really could put ourselves in a good position. But at the same token, like, how many years are we going to keep pressing the reset button? And if you trade those guys too, like Minaya, for instance, is a player option, you trade him, you got to replace him in the offseason. Like, you can't rebuild a whole roster in the offseason. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, like we said that with Quintana last year. We're like, well, we can trade Quintana, or we need to have a rotation for next year. And like, thank God we have a guy that we could just fill in there. Senga, I don't know when he's ever coming back. And that's the thing, like, losing him right off the jump was such a kick in the dick.
That's the canary in the coal mine, too, because if it was a situation where the team was viable and competing and doing well, you're telling me that he wouldn't have found a way back onto the field sooner? And, like, we're not even getting news about it necessarily. They're just like, oh, we're going to shut him down again. We don't want to mess up something long-term for a team that we don't think is really going to have a chance. It seems like that could be a chance.
Their news is always like, it's not a setback, but he's not going to throw for a few days.
Right.
It's tricky. And like, I feel like Japanese pitchers, they always are a little more cautious than not, just because of the workload that they usually go through over there. So I don't know what to make of all that. Clemmer, you and Phil are kind of my go-tos for like just what's going on around baseball. And for what I'm reading, like, the National League, other than the Braves, the Phillies, the Brewers, and the Dodgers, is basically just different versions of us. It's variants of us basically across the league, right? So there is like a reason to believe in the third wild card
and second wild card.
And second wild card, yeah, exactly. Our guy, One Shining Mets, tweeted this out, I think it was Sunday. It's kind of wild that if the Mets just simply won the games they led after 8 innings in May, they would be 30-29 right now. And that was back into 59 games. And it's like, we've seen, Mets fans know more than anybody. You have like a bad month with the bullpen, which I think Raleigh getting hurt kind of fucked everything up. Diaz just completely torpedoing our season, which we didn't see coming. And then, the bullpens are going to blow games. That's why those guys pitch in the bullpen. There's something we said, like, if you could shore that up and then just play the way they've been playing, as ugly as it's been, it was somehow winning baseball, right? 30-29 is winning baseball.
The annoying part about those bullpen, like, meltdowns, it was from the guys that you expected to, like, get the job done. Like Edwin Diaz with the 4 blown saves.
Yeah.
Reed Garrett had the hot April. It's like, okay, maybe he's a good guy. And then he blows a bunch of games. Adam out the lead goes. I have to call him that because he has a 15 ERA in the 9th inning. And
we would have lost that game had they not pulled the trigger and put Diekman back in. Like 1,000%. He was looking into the dugout for them to come get him.
Even Jake Diekman on Sunday, but then it's like Danny Young. Apparently he's good. Daniel Nunez out of nowhere. These are our trustworthy relievers, whereas the guys you expected to be good are the ones that were blowing the games.
We have to look at this, I think, cautiously. So there's some warning signs here too. So the Mets team ERA is 4.21, which doesn't sound bad. If especially watching baseball for a while, but it's actually pretty horrible. We are in a year. This season has been incredibly low hitting. No one's hitting the ball at all this year. The runs are significantly down. Look at the numbers; it's wild. So a 4.21 ERA is actually 11th in the National League, and that bullpen is one of the worst in all of baseball. So you wonder, like, you can't replace a whole bullpen overnight. Like, obviously Diaz, he'll probably come into form. Like, you got to assume that. But the rest of those guys, do you really trust Ottavino, Garrett, Diekman? And those are the veterans. Like, or Garrett, maybe not so much. But, like, who do you – Danny, you can't say I'm not going to trade JD. I'm not going to trade any of these guys because of Danny Young. Like, I didn't know the fuck he was before.
I do have an Adam Ottavino note. I think his ERA in the 9th inning is 15. ERA in the 8th is like a 5. His 7th inning ERA is 0. So maybe that's it.
Yeah. So I know that there's every Mets fan's conflicted, I think, right now. Like, do we sell? Do we not sell? What do we do? The bullpen, the way that pitching staff looks right now, that is a huge, to me, like a red flag of sell.
The 2023 Mets are the meme where if Edwin Diaz doesn't get hurt in the WBC, and then it's Diaz in the 9th, Robertson in the 8th, and then Ottavino and Raleigh in the 7th. That is like the perfect future meme where everything is great. Because that kind of pans out. The numbers Phil says, again, high leverage is going to come in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. You never really know what it is. But yeah, we could just go back to blaming the WBC again. Another thing we can do is I think I think the new kind of drum the Mets fans are going to start beating here if we keep winning the way that we've been winning. I think, remember the Jose Reyes? Clemmer, did you follow this? I don't know how much you were into social media, before Barstool, but like Jose Reyes is a virus. It's all his fault. Did you ever remember that guy? I think Jeff McNeil is going to be looked at as the new virus of the New York Mets.
Holy shit. It is actually comical how fast we find a new villain when someone else gets taken off of the roster. That's insane. It was like the second Omar Narvaez was moved, it was like Jeff McNeil needs to be moved. He needs to go. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Tough crowd, man.
Jeff McNeil I think might be a bad baseball player.
He's been a bum since he got the contract.
No, but like he might I know there's like, oh, this guy, like the buyer, like in Reyes, that second term with the Mets was horrible. But like I think it's ridiculous they've gone 7-0 without him in the lineup, something crazy like that. Like they're really good. Like that's obviously a little silly, but like McNeil is horrible. And I don't know what you do with him. I mean, that contract. Would we have him? How many years, Phil? Do we have him for? 2 more?
It's 2 more. After this year, it's 2 years, and I think $30 million in total.
4 for $60 felt like a steal, and now it's like we are just saddled with this. I mean, you want to talk about a debate? We thought that getting rid of that shift was going to have him hitting 400, and ever since they did that, he can't hit a lick.
He's also 32. He's never been good defensively. I don't know what you do with him. And he's also, I mean, I hear whispers. I don't know if you guys have heard the same thing. He's not great in the clubhouse. He's difficult to deal with. Obviously, we saw the whole Lindor, the squirrel bullshit we had a couple years ago. I mean, it's a good case. Like you bench this guy, and now he's a problem. And if you want to go way back, look what happened with George Foster with the Mets. They had to dump him because they were going to bench him, and he made life a living hell for everyone. It's like I don't want this guy around, and they just cut him. They're like, enough. I just can't have you around. And I wonder if we're starting to go down that road with McNeil. McNeil is someone I see and I almost I squirm. I'm like, oh no.
Well, Stearns and Mendoza have been very aggressive when it comes to if a guy's not working out, just get rid of him. Like we saw, Joey Wendell didn't work out, you're gone. Michael Tonkin didn't work out here, you're gone. Obviously, you go with the Yankees now. Forget that it wasn't going to be good here. Brett Beatty, he struggled. Okay, Vientos, it's your job now. Omar Narvaez, you stink. We're bringing in Torrens. Like, if you're not performing, they're going to be more aggressive in making that move now rather than letting the vet work it out.
This is different, though, Phil. This is $33 million we owe this guy, and not counting this year.
But they also, they did get rid of some costs before. They bought out Cano like it was nothing.
But it's also a situation where, then you're sending a message to the rest of the league of, you're expendable no matter what your contract says you are. And these are guys who are trying to plan out their lives and where they're going to live and raise a family and down the line. Because at the end of the day, it's a job. And it's if I have a tough skid, are they just going to bench me for Jose Iglesias? The way it worked out is they were facing lefties. So they're trying to give him a mental break to try to figure it out. But in the same token, it's you do have to send a signal of we're just not going to hang you out to dry the second something goes wrong. We brought back Omar Narvaez for a whole extra fucking season. I don't think they're getting rid of McNeil unless somebody asked to trade for him. That would be the best case scenario is somebody decides to take a flyer on him. I could see him. I mean, Pittsburgh's not going to be a great destination for him at the moment, but I could see him being who was the other guy we sent to Pittsburgh?
Ike Davis?
Second baseman. Right before we got McNeil.
I almost said Xavier Nady, which would have made me seem 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
It's the same exact situation. Shit, it'll come to me. Go ahead.
I was going to say with McNeil, I mean, this is a guy that has an on base right now at 296. He's slugging 320. You can't just keep – if you are actually going to be competitive, you can't put him out there. There's only 2 ways you can trade Jeff McNeil, I think. Option A, you pay his entire contract and trade him for a AA guy. I think that's how low his value is. Option 2 is you saddle him with Pete Alonso or Severino, and then you're getting less of a return back. A team that can absorb those contracts, take them, and you're then getting less prospects back. At this point, McNeil is a hindrance. He has no value. He has less than negative value. He has negative value. I believe across the league.
And it's funny because there are so many times where a guy is struggling with the Mets in this case, and fans will say, like, I just wanted to show some emotion. Jeff McNeil shows so much emotion. We're like, I wish he just showed less emotion and just stopped acting like a baby. So it really is like catch-22. He just can't fucking win right now. And then the team just can't lose when he's out of the lineup. So whatever. Like when they face righties, he's going to be back in. Hopefully they like don't just lose games because then it's just going to get louder. The moans and groans about it. However,
Neil Walker, by the way.
Neil Walker,
There you go.
yes.
Neil Walker, yeah.
And the same people that are saying we're
got it
losing
from
because
the
McNeil's
Pirates.
not in the
Yeah,
lineup are the
John
same
East.
people that are saying the City Connect jersey is the reason why we don't win games on Fridays. Like, you know what I mean? Like the same people. But McNeil does strike me as the guy who the team can be up 8 runs, and if he has a shitty day, he's just sulking in the dugout. And you can't have that when you're not performing.
Yeah.
He's
no,
also batting 100. I'm not a big batting average guy at all, but he's batting 100 points less than he did when he won the batting title 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like he might just suck now. Like we have to accept that and figure out how to move on. Like if he doesn't think, because he wasn't very good last year, and he's on this progression for an infielder when he's 32. I don't know. I'll push back a little bit on people. I'm one of those guys who's saying I don't know if McNeil is ever good again. Like I don't know if McNeil is ever like average again.
I mean, he wasn't even that good even before he won the batting title in 2021. That was a down year. So you think about it, it's like 3 of the last 4 years, he's just been a bad player with the batting title sandwiched in there.
That's a good point, Phil. Yeah. Is this the real McNeil? Was the other one just a weird fluky season where guys were on base? Maybe they're giving him fastballs to hit. I don't know, but I don't. I think McNeil is a serious issue for this team, both this year and moving forward.
For a guy who gets paid on his, batting averages, his calling card obviously won the batting title. His highest average was his rookie season, 329. Then we're going 318, 311, 251, 326, 270, and then 227 this year. So not great. And then, like you said, like, remember when he was like a jack of all trades who could plug him in wherever we needed, and it was like perfect for that team, which was not very good. But now it's like it just feels like he's nothing. And you said it, Clemmer, the raccoon incident, which like everyone's like, oh, that was so funny. If the Mets don't win that game, it's like a legitimate feeding frenzy for the New York media. The whole thing with the car and Lindor, and then it's like, is Lindor an asshole too? But it's like he just seems like such a good guy. There is like smoke and fire with McNeil. We met him. He came on the pod. He was awesome. But it does feel like at some point you at least need to start producing on the field to just quiet all that kind of bullshit.
And stop golfing while you're off of it, because it's like you can't have a hobby when you can't fucking hit. And you can't, especially can't have a hobby that involves a swing when you're not making contact.
And was it that he went golfing before a doubleheader? Was that I saw there was a picture, but I don't know if it was like a legit thing. And I don't listen to social media, but I saw that and I was like, oh boy, here we go. But the fact it didn't become like a fucking talking point for Mets fans, I'm guessing it did not check out. But like again. Yoenis used to golf like 36 holes, but he was hitting home runs, and we're like, who gives a fuck? He's smoking darts in the dugout, eating 1,000 crabs in Baltimore. Do whatever you want, Yoenis. But then when the other Yo shows up, it was like, all right, the golf's a problem, the cigarettes are a problem, you're the problem because the Mets are the problem.
Also, it's not that it's not that he's not making contact. It's that when he makes the contact, it's like a weak ground ball to second base or a lazy fly out to left. Like, it doesn't do damage.
We were at that Barstool, the ballpark game, and with our boy, the Rally Pimp, and he's like, man, I'm hoping for a three. I'm looking at a 3 pitch out for McNeil here. First pitch swinging, pop up. I was like, you didn't even get 3 pitches.
Nope.
You didn't even get 3 pitches out of him.
Can I talk about the City Connect because Kyle brought up? It's something that kind of pissed me off. So I was my wife and I were just looking at games for the rest of the summer, just kind of planning out our summer. And the Mets have City Connect as a promo.
Yep.
It's not a promo. Them wearing I think the City Connect, I think the whole thing, Kyle, you said, I agree with you. Like, the uniform doesn't matter if they win or lose. That's stupid. Stop. But I blame the Mets for like trying to trick us and think it's like some promo. It's not a promo. Like them wearing a uniform doesn't like. What does that do for the person, the family going to the game? Like, don't lie to us.
I'm not planning my schedule around whether or not they're wearing a gray and purple jersey.
Like, what? Whose idea was that to make that like a? And I know sometimes if you click on the promo schedules for MLB, they'll have really small deals there. Like the promos can be sometimes ridiculous, sometimes great. They have some bobbleheads coming up, Brandon Nimmo, the Lindor. They have some good stuff coming up, although not as much as I'd like. But the idea that you can pitch City Connect as a promo, like, get out of here. I mean, 10 years ago, and this is Wilpons stuff. We had the free shirt Fridays. We had good stuff going. Like the idea that the Mets are wearing a different color shirt does not make me want to go to a game.
When you said that, it kind of put my like radar up, and this is just a guess. I don't know if it's a Nike thing, Fanatics thing, or both. I feel like that's probably coming from the top, the market, because I just looked at the Blue Jays who just had their City Connects, and they're promoting the City Connect week, and I feel like they're probably trying to push those jerseys. As much as I'd love to give the Met shit, there is a chance it's like the marketing part of being like, you guys have to throw this on the promo schedule, even though, like you said, Clemmer, I do not give a fuck. I do not care. I like jerseys. I like when they change stuff up, but not as a promo. Even when the black jerseys came back, that was kind of a retro thing. I could understand marketing that for Blackout Fridays or whatever. But you got to have something else, like just give away a jersey or give away a fucking mug that's black or something. I don't know.
I think I completely, that makes total sense, Clem. It probably is MLB mandated. It might even be part of the contract they signed with Nike. Who knows? But I think the promo schedule this year, especially after we had the Strawberry and Gooden, I feel like they kind of like blew their load already. And now we're just kind of the promo schedule the rest of the season kind of sucks. And if this team isn't very good, you're going to see some empty ballparks. I'll say this. When we went to the game on Saturday, Strawberry's retirement ceremony, I was very disappointed and kind of shocked how few people showed up. And if they can't come out for a beautiful day to honor Darryl Strawberry, what's going to happen in August if this team if they do actually sell? There's going to be nobody there.
I have a friend that wants to put together a group, and they always reach out to me because I'm always like locked in with the Mets. And they're like, oh, we need 12 tickets. Like, do you think we should buy them now? And it's Saturday game against the Rockies and they're already $25. And I was like, I think they're going to go lower because the Rockies are actually worse than we are. There's no shot in hell come mid-July after the trade deadline. If they do sell, it's going to be a ghost town.
I mean, if we're talking bad teams, I just want to talk about the White Sox this year might be the worst team we've ever seen.
No, it really is. I'm writing a blog right now about it. And if you look at the teams that have lost 115 games in Major League history, so you got the 18 Orioles, you go back to the 35 Braves, 62 Mets, obviously. At this point in the season, 62 games in, the White Sox have a worse record than all of them. The White Sox are historically horrible, and it's only going to get worse because they're going to sell off guys like Louis Robert, Tommy Pham, Kopech. The White Sox, I say this with all sincerity, I'm not, no exaggeration, they could lose 125 games this year.
Jesus Christ.
And they can't pick higher than 10th in the draft.
Ugh.
And that was, remember the whole rebuild, and now it's all happening now, and they were kind of where we were when we go on like a hot streak, and we're thinking it's going to be like 5 years of competing, and literally it spikes. It's like, you eat a fucking bunch of sugar, your blood sugar spikes, and then it drops right back down, and now they're in hell again with Reinsdorf, who's just like locked in as the fucking owner. So it's
not going to get any better. The farm system before the season was ranked 20th in Major League Baseball. So it's not like they have help on the way. And you can kind of take or leave those farm systems, but 20th isn't good. Like they don't have a ton of prospects. Obviously, they're going to sell some of these guys to get some more. But like Phil made a great point. They're not picking number one either. So they're not going to get that generational talent, most likely. So I think the White Sox, we could see some amazing things happen with this team the next couple of years.
Things could always be so much worse.
It's crazy to have this conversation a year removed from the Athletics being the worst team in Major League history. They didn't get there, but we might be getting it just one season later. Is insane.
With a team that's not trying to lose on purpose.
Right.
The A's were trying to lose on purpose. And the White Sox are still significantly worse than them. It is wild.
Shout out Tommy Pham. White Sox not taking any shit. He'll just fucking knock someone's head off their body.
Call him lazy on the way out.
If you're a bad team, you should just have Tommy Pham for entertainment's sake.
Yeah.
He'll talk some shit on the way out. And have truer words ever rang out since obviously that core after he left, and just what's happened to the core that's been here, kind of just speaks volumes. So,
and then he went and played in the World Series.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna round up this pod. But we got Clemmer leaving soon. So before we head out, let's talk about some DraftKings right now. It finally feels like baseball season. God knows Mets fans can agree with that. And yeah, it's a little early to start looking at the standings because there's 1,000 wild cards and scoreboard watching. But it's never too early to get in all of today's action at DraftKings Sportsbook. Nets are off for the next 2 nights. We got a little break here, which is a beautiful thing. You go on DraftKings, tickle your competitive fancy there. So it's super easy for first timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your squad, and place your bet. It's that simple. From the first pitch to the final out, DraftKings has you covered with same game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Our boy Clemmer is always diving into the data and giving us some picks here. We absolutely love it.
Yes.
Have you looked at anything tonight, Clemmer?
I do. Yeah. I don't know how Phil's going to feel about this one. I have the Seattle pitcher Justin Wu. He's not very good during the day, and he's not great on the road. I have him giving up over 1.5 earned runs. Phil and I both love this pitcher, but I don't love him as much during the day. But Phil and I are big Wu fans. I just don't like him today, Phil. What do you think?
I might have to hate your pick just because you called him Justin Wu when it's Brian Wu.
Brian Wu, excuse me. I don't have.
So if you can't get the guy's name right, I already don't like the pick.
I'm very old. Names. Phil, I'm going to tell you, it happens when you're 20 years from now. You can do the same thing. You flip names all the time. There's only so many things you can remember, and you have to forget something to remember something else. You do max out.
There's a science behind that because it's like playing a game of Guess Who with my dad, who will just bring up some like random ass Mets name from 1980, and then I have to try to figure out what he actually means in 2024's roster. I'm like, do you mean this person?
Yeah.
He's like, no, it's something like that though.
Yeah, I maxed out about 2.5, 3 years ago. I felt it. I'm like, oh, now like I used to never mess up names. I used to remember everything, and now like I would have never fucked it up 5 years ago, but alas.
Gray hair,
because...
old baggy, old wrinkles.
So what do we have tonight? Tonight here we have.
Do you hate the pick, Phil? Seriously, what do you think?
I think it's a good pick. I just think it's a bad omen because the other night you had you were tweeting about the Giants stats at home when they were playing in Arizona.
I know. I've been very busy the last couple of days. I know. We don't need to go. You don't need to always be a troll.
But I'm saying
it's okay. Do you like this pick I asked you? I know it's hard for you to stay focused without being a troll all the time.
Whether you like or you don't like it, go on DraftKings Sportsbook. New to DraftKings, listen up. New customers can get a no sweat bet up to $1,500. Just deposit at least $5, and you'll get a bonus bet back equal to your first bet if it doesn't. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BELIEVE. That's code BELIEVE for new customers to get a no sweat bet up to $1,500 if your first bet doesn't hit. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Clemmer, that was the most senior moment. I'm so happy you had it because me and KFC are usually trading them here, so it's good to get you back doing the same thing.
I hope, Clem, Kyle, hope you guys have a great day. And Phil, I honestly I hope you fall into a sewer or something. I mean that with all sincerity. I really do. I hope something miserable happens to you today. And
Brian Wu!
Let's go Mets. I'm out of here.
Go Mets. Gotta believe, Clemmer. Oh man, I love the draft. The Pick Central dynamic. They're always at each other's throats, even when they're not on the show. And Phil is definitely a part of that.
Did you see? I posted it this morning on the main account. Clemmer hosted Barstool Field. They did a fantastic job. So if you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. But he chirps Dana, and then Dana tries to get him back with like a zinger and can't think of anything. It's like the Chris Farley, David Spade interaction where he's like, your brain doesn't work.
Oh man, Brian Wu, Justin Wu. I don't know either of those fucking guys. So God bless Clemmer. The Barstool the ballpark thing was a good point though. Like again, the rally pip, a bunch of other people were like, I was here for Keith's retirement. And granted, that was during a great season. They're like, it was jammed. You couldn't get in. You were 3 hours just waiting to get in. And there was like, I think half full would even be being generous. And I think Darryl is like a little bit polarizing for Mets fans, but pretty beloved. And if it's his day, you figure you're going to get a ballpark full of Mets fans who lived through the 86 World Series to come out. And, Darryl Strawberry's their favorite player. That was tough. That was a tough look. I'll also say that this is the first time I saw the, what's the city dance team that we have?
Queen's Crew.
I cannot imagine the amount of people who gave that shit hate. I didn't even notice I just heard the music going, and I was like, oh, they're dancing in the dugout. And it never entered my mind again. The amount of hate for that shit is just incredible. But
I have not noticed it once.
I forgot we had them until you just said it.
Right? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, that was a tough look. Not a tough look. So I already said it's almost like a new segment here. Heroes and zeros. McNeil is the new zero in Mets fans' minds. Mark Vientos. Question, good question mark? Phil, give me your opinion on this one.
He might be. I mean, I'll say this. They brought him up at the exact perfect time because Beatty was starting to dip. They were starting to face a bunch of lefties. And it was like, okay, this is the perfect time to bring him up, give him a job, let him cook. If he holds this for the rest of the month, might have to say he's good.
Maybe good.
I don't want to say anything yet.
I mean, you can be a positionless player with or without a DH. If you can hit major league pitching, they will find a way to get you in the lineup one way or another. We'll hide you in the field, like wherever you need to be. They'll figure out a way to get him in this lineup. And you know what? It's not even that he's just hitting. It's that he's hitting with authority, and they're putting him in positions where, like, he's getting up with runners on base and he's delivering, which is a lot more you could say for the rest of the lineup.
You're starting to like almost expect it. I would never expect the Met to come through with a big hit at a big moment, but he's one of the guys like him, JD. You're like, all right, I could see a base hit here going up the middle or something. So that's good, right? Found money. It would be nice if Ronnie Mauricio was here. That's one of the good things about having an absolute shit team, where it's like you have so many holes, you could just throw a guy in a like left field and be like, all right, go out there. Whereas, back in 22, we kind of had everything was spoken for the most part when we actually had a good team. Not to say this year is anywhere nearly as good as that year, because it was very much not. And I am very happy. I enjoyed that year for every moment that it was worth. Going back to the Doc and Darryl thing, though, we talked about this a little at the game. I want to get your guys' opinions. Am I crazy to think like I think we've gone too far with the number of retirements now, where I think a big thing was like the Mets. It's like, come on, you're the Mets. You don't have any numbers retired barely, and you're a team that, hasn't done shit. Meanwhile, across town, the Yankees have like almost, they're going to be using letters soon. They have so many numbers retired because they've been great for so long. But it's like, okay, Keith, I get. Then it's like Dwight, Darryl. They had their moments. They won a World Series. They could have been great, but it's kind of like they're more of tragic figures. And then I think the thing that really hammers this home is like, I don't think we had to retire Willie Mays' number, considering he was basically, if the internet was around in the 70s, he would have been the Patrick Ewing, Orlando Magic meme, I think. It was kind of like, oh man, Willie Mays is tough times. I know we're the New York Mets, the Metropolitans, half Dodgers, half Giants, National League Baseball in the city. But it's like, I think David Wright is going to get his number retired just because he was such a good guy. I could be wrong on that. Do you then retire Jacob deGrom for taking us to a World Series and being probably the best pitcher we've seen since Gooden at his peak? So it's like, I don't really know where we stand. Kyle, what do you think about it?
I think first of all, I don't think we should be retiring anyone's number anytime soon after this, like at all. There's no purpose at this point. I think the next thing that they should do is do a Mike Piazza 9/11 home run statue. If you're going to do something like that's something I feel like everybody would get behind. It was a significant moment in our country. It was a significant moment for the Mets. Mike Piazza's in the Hall of Fame. His number is retired. Like that should be the next thing that they focus on, and not even soon, just like eventually. As far as numbers go, if you're not in the Hall of Fame or you're not like a strategic, integral part to the Mets organization and a World Series, we shouldn't really be having that conversation. That's how I feel about it. Like, maybe right, but like, still not really right.
David Wright, just wait for a good team to retire Wright's number. That's pretty much it. Don't waste his number retirement on like these guys.
If David Wright wants his number retired, he has to manage his fucking team. We've been asking for it for years now, and it probably will go awful, but in my mind, it's the magic that we need to somehow make it all work again. So if he wants that number retired, he's going to have to manage here. I don't think deGrom will probably get it done. I imagine his relationship wasn't like over the top great with the Mets. So the Piazza one makes sense. So I never thought about that. And like the 25th year anniversary, which is crazy to think about, is coming up in a few years. Mm-hmm. So that could be like a nice way to kind of sum things up there and put a bow on it. So, and don't forget the Wilpons. What was it like? Didn't they like sell the jersey or lose the jersey? I remember blogging it.
Tried to auction it, yeah.
Like, what are we doing? So obviously, hopefully Uncle Stevie has a bigger brain than that and will know how to honor it. I'd be down for that, a statue or some sort of a monument maybe in the park. Outside the park, the Seaver statue could be like that thing, and you have something.
Or they wait until they open up like the street with the whole new area over there. They can put it in that sort of like park area.
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot.
But yeah, no more numbers. It's just too much at this point.
Yeah.
Every season you're retiring multiple numbers in a calendar season too. Like Willie Mays was a surprise that they kept that under wraps somehow, some way, and then just did like a double retirement. It was like, what the fuck's going on?
Seaver couldn't get a statue built and that I think the Wilpons had an axe to grind against him for whatever reason. So it's like he couldn't get a statue, but we're retiring Willie Mays' number now.
Right.
It feels like we overcorrected. So hopefully you can't imagine they just unretired a number. Like, fuck it. Willie sucked here. 24 is back on them. Hey, if Juan Soto, I know he's 22. If he's wanted 24, you got it, Juan. Fucking welcome to the team. Oh, he's so fucking good, man. They're having so much fun across town. I hate it so much. This is what I wanted to do. Speaking of which, we're going to do a new segment here, kind of go around the league, learn a little bit more about what's going on. So we're going to do a little thing called Cy Young Award Watch, okay? So every week we're going to just pick a random pitcher just out of the blue and guy who's dominating this season in the AL and NL and, potential Cy Young Award winner. This week, this pitcher is 9-1, 2.13 ERA, and a 1.02 whip with 71 strikeouts. Does anyone want to take a guess which American League pitcher this is? Here, let me see if I can zoom it in, share it on the screen so you guys can at least see what we're dealing with here. 9-1, 2.13 ERA, American League pitcher.
Is that Luis Gil?
Not Luis Gil.
I'm trying
AL
to think.
Central.
No, Pablo Lopez isn't that good this year. Someone on the Guardians. No, it's Seth Lugo. Duh, I'm dumb.
Seth Lugo. That is correct, Phil. Seth Lugo. I got that. I tweeted out, I saw his stats the other day. I think he was like 8-1 with like a 2.01 ERA and said the Mets could use a guy like that. Pretty good pitcher here in Kansas City.
He gave up, I think, 5 runs in his last start. I didn't know what his ERA went up to.
So he gave up, 5 earned runs in his last start against the Guardians and still has a 2.13 ERA. So Seth Lugo could be a good Major League starter. Who knew? I mean, people are like, how do you know he's going to be a Major League starter? Well, he was a pretty good Major League starter early in his career, and then I know the stuff with the arm. So that is our AL Cy Young candidate of the week. And our NL Cy Young candidate of the week is, let's see his numbers here. 7-3, 2.23 ERA, 91 strikeouts, 0.97 whip.
Was this Zach Wheeler?
This is Zach Wheeler. That's correct. That's correct.
Because the Phillies have 4 of the top 6 pitchers in the league in ERA. Like Aaron Nola, I think, is 6th in the league in ERA and 4th on his own team.
Wow.
How? Oh God! How? Like Aaron Nola, everyone was like, red flag, that guy's going to regress, yada, yada. It's like with the Phillies, who's their fucking pitching coach right now? Can we send this guy for half?
Caleb Cotham, I think.
The fact Phil even has a guess at that.
I'm going to suck at this game all season long. I don't watch anything but Mets games.
Let me tell you, Kyle, any pitcher I mentioned is going to be former Mets. This is just like a little painful exercise, so I'm sure there's going to be other guys. Ranger Suarez, too. Is he okay? I know he took the comebacker.
Facing him on Saturday, so expect Jose Iglesias. Jeff McNeil gets a nice week off.
Ranger Suarez, I guess his name is Ranger. I always just liked him, even though he's a Philly. And the fact that he's like developed, that was when like all the guys in the Phillies in the mid 2000s, and it's like everyone they would just bring up, like J.A. Happ was just become good. We're like, what the fuck? Like they got to get this guy being good too. So Zach Wheeler is your NL Cy Young candidate of the week. We'll be interested to see how that award goes the rest of the way. I don't think we'll be doing any current. Kyle, you won't be guessing any Mets. I'll tell you that right now, though. So I won't have any Mets on this list.
Deal.
In terms of potential. Reed Garrett had like his moment.
Taijuan Walker.
Taijuan Walker. Oh, geez. So, yeah, it doesn't all end good. So, yeah, like Phil said, we're heading to London. We're not heading to London. Could you imagine going to London for this team right now? Oh. I mean, I'm sure you could go visit Big Ben. Mama Clem actually just went to London last month. She went with some friends, did London, Spain, and France. So she did a nice little thing with some of her girlfriends. But, man, God bless. I see that. I think the 7 line's out there already. They're doing their thing. Enjoy the scenery, boys. Enjoy the scenery, the crumpets, whatever the fuck they do in England. I don't know. The food sucks, I know. The beer is probably good, but I think it's warm. Any you guys ever go to London? Phil's Dakota guy.
Nope,
I'm kind of jealous, dudes, and Marty got to go to Alaska. It looks nice there.
I'm telling you, dude, it's like a premier destination for vacations. It's just nobody like thinks to go there, and then when you go, it's like amazing.
I was like, guys, can I just take the trip? I know it was sponsored, but I was like, I'll just take the trip. My parents went to Alaska. They said it was one of the best trips they've ever done. You send someone to Alaska in the dead of winter, that's when it's a fucking whammy. Not in the summer where it's beautiful out. Where
it's sunny all day long and you could just have no concept of time. That would be a little bit of a mind fuck.
Yeah, that's
showing us like it was like 11:27 was when the sun sets at night. Like it was like 10:30 and it was like bright daylight out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's trippy, man. It's like the opposite of that. Did you guys watch True Detective, the latest one with Jodie Foster? Absolute dog shit. Do not watch it. But it's when the town goes for 2 weeks. It's night the entire time, which is basically what this season is for Mets fans.
Yep.
It's like we've entered the night part of the cycle as Mets fans. Hopefully we get back into the day at some point. I saw Matthew Broderick is throwing at the first pitch. Didn't even know he was a Mets fan. Good for him. I couldn't care less about this. I feel like this is always the case with the baseball trips. There was that one time they went to Mexico and it was a launching pad. That's cool. But unless you have some kind of cool ballpark factors,
there was one year we were supposed to go to Puerto Rico and we were in a meeting that we were like, can we also go to Puerto Rico? And then it was the COVID season.
It was the COVID season. Yeah, that would have been incredible. So shout out to anyone making the trip out to London for this trip. I mean,
I feel like we steal 2 games in London just because, like, that's the way this season's going. It's like, oh, the Phillies are the best team in baseball. Yeah, we're going to be the best baseball team in London this year.
So that brings me to my final point here. I was trying to figure out as Clemmer and Phil were kind of like edging me back to fucking truly believing again. If the Mets ever did go on this crazy unexpected run, in that DVD, or I guess at this point no one even uses DVD, it's just the fucking World Series video, the trip to London. This might be the 2007 Giants fan of me because they went to London when they won the Super Bowl that year. Maybe it's just so crazy it might just happen. We go out, play the Phillies, fucking strike out Bryce Harper in a big spot, and Jeff McNeil was on the bench and watched them just keep winning games without him. Crazier things have happened, boys, right? Crazier things have happened. Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.